What's good, y'all? It's Classic MMA, and today I'll be doing my full card predictions for UFC Fight Night. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Strickland. Let's get into it. So first fight of the night, we got Carly Judas versus Juliana Miller. Oh, brother. This one stinks. Oh. WMMA slap to open the prelims, just what I like. So Carly Judas is kind of like a Holly Holm type. Kind of like a new age Holly Holm. Been getting a lot of KOs in the UFC, which is surprising for WMMA. And then Juliana Miller is pretty trash, I won't lie. She just gets finished every fight, so. Or finished or beat by decision. So, who am I picking? You can guess. I'm not going to spend too much time here. It's Carly Judas by decision. She is just a lot better at fighting, and on the feet, she should destroy her. I'm only not saying KO because it's WMMA, and I just don't see that happening. Like, it doesn't. I'm not picking a WMMA fight by finish ever again. That's a new rule on this channel. Never pick WMMA fights by finish. I've learned that. Anyways, let's move on to something I actually care about. Yadir DeVale, the Cuban Problem. I'm just gonna versus Jordan Levitt, the Monkey King. So on the side of Yadir DeVale, we have a fighter who's a bit controversial, to say the least. I mean, where he's been in some controversial situations. Let's just say that. So makes his debut against Connor Matthews, gets a nasty sub, looks really good. Then he fights what's his name? I'm trying to remember a guy's name. The guy C-Rod B. I'm trying to remember what is his name, man? I'm trying to remember. Trying to remember. Am I stupid? I might be stupid. What is the guy's name? The Yadir DeVale beat. Crap. I am the worst analyst on you. Oh, Isaac Dolgarian. Yeah, so he beats Isaac Dolgarian by submission, but then we look at and then the lines are looked at after, and then, there's a whole fight fixing scandal and everything with it. The fight didn't get overturned, but still a little bit fishy, that's all I gotta say. And then for Jordan Levitt, hey, bro. All I'm gonna say is that him and Dan Hooker might got some similarities as of late. If you know, you know. Hey, bro, the Monkey King. I low-key mess with Jordan Levitt, though. I mean, he's a fun fighter. Has a nasty ground game submissions. Or offensive ground game. Defensively, sucks on the ground. Gets all of his losses are by subs, but he has a fun ground game, and he's a cool dude. But so, for who I'm picking here, it should be no surprise here. I'm picking Yadir DeVale by round 3 submission. Pretty easy pick here, as Levitt just gets submitted by every decent grappler he faces. Paddy Pimblett, Chase Hooper. Who am I forgetting? I might be forgetting one more, but doesn't matter. And I think DeVale's really going to be pretty good in this division. I'm a little worried about the fight fixing thing, but other than that, I think he's pretty good. Has really good grappling, can strike too. So give me Yadir DeVale by round 3 submission. Next on the card, Phil Rowe versus Jean-Paul Lebensoni. So on the side of Phil Rowe, we have a very tall, lengthy striker. Been around the block at welterweight. I think he's been in the UFC since like 2019. Yeah. He's kind of just like a either he gets a fluke KO or he loses by decision. That's Phil Rowe for you. Because, the way to stop Phil Rowe is you take him down, and then he's not getting back up. He's just going to lay on bottom, like he did against Suk Hung Ko, He's just going to lay around on bottom and do nothing. That's essentially Phil Rowe if he gets taken down. And then on the feet, he's not that good either, as he usually gets pieced up. And then randomly in the third round, he'll come back and might fluke you by KO like he did against Angelusa. So Phil Rowe isn't the greatest fighter in the world. Shit, say that. Then on the side of Jean-Paul Lebensani, an interesting prospect coming off Contender Series, was known as a bit of a grappler in the regional scene, but in his Contender Series fight, got a nasty head kick KO. Like, he actually looked pretty good, though, I won't lie. Like, he was one of the better Contender Series prospects. He interested me for sure. So for who I'm picking here, it shouldn't be no surprise. Give me a JPL by round 1 submission. Phil Rowe just has really bad takedown defense, man. Like, the Korean Tyson took him down and held him down the whole fight. Neil Magny took him down. I mean, this dude cannot grapple to save his life. And while his BJJ is bottom is solid, I just don't see it working against someone as good as JPL. And I think he's gonna get a really nice sub here. Phil Rowe also missed weight, so I think he'll be depleted, and JPL will be able to get the submission here. So give me JPL by round 1 submission. Next on the card, Ramiz Brahimaj versus Punahele Soriano. So on the side of Ramiz Brahimaj, we have actually a guy who's been on a bit of a come up lately. Started his career as a bit of a bum, losing to like Themba Garimbo, but since then he's picked it up on a 3-fight win streak, all by first round guillotine, I believe. Yeah, all by first round guillotine. or he might be coming off 2 straight, but he subbed Billy Ray Goff, got a nasty guillotine on him, and then was able to sub what's his name? What's the guy's name? Paige Van Zandt's wife. Austin Vanderford, yeah. And he subbed him too. And he was also messing up Vanderford bad on the feet too, so. And then on the side of Puniala Soriano, he's a guy who was at middleweight at one point, he was a bit of a win-loss fighter at middleweight. Was, very reliant on his power. But since moving down on welterweight, he's been on a nice little run. KO'd, what's his name? What's the guy's name? Oh, Uros Medic. He's going to be on this card. KO'd Uros Medic. KO'd. Or got a decision win over Veretnikov where he showed off his wrestling. So Puna's been pretty good lately. So for who I'm picking in this fight, it's a no-brainer. Give me Ramiz Brahimaj by round 1 submission. Soriano is really relying on his wrestling at 170 as he usually just tries to outmuscle people. But with the way he shoots takedowns, I just see Ramiz being able to lock up a guillotine and sub him in the first round. So give me Ramiz Brahimaj by round 1 submission. Next on the card, we got Nora Cornole versus Jocelyn Edwards. More WMMA slop. Hooray! This is exactly what we want, people. Anyways, I'm not going to break this one down. So, I'm just going to say both of these fighters fought in the past. They fought before. Cornole won kind of by robbery. But I think Jocelyn Edwards has improved a lot, so I'm going to pick Jocelyn Edwards here by decision. I think this fight goes much different than the first fight, and I see Edwards showing your improvements in striking, grappling, and winning pretty comfortably. Anyways, let's talk about something I care about. Alden Correa versus Luis Gruel. Pretty fun flyweight matchup here. On the side of Correa, we have a guy who actually trains with the current flyweight champion, like it or not, Joshua Van. And Correa, made his debut against Alexandro Costa, who was on a decent win streak, and KO'd him, finished him in 3 rounds. And while the KO was a little fluky as Costa broke his foot, but still was a nice finish. And Correa was really looking nice on point with his boxing and his grappling too. Like he looked really good in the grappling too. Like Correa really looked like a strong prospect in that fight. And now it's the second fight in the UFC. Luis Gruel, he's just kind of a can. Made his debut against Ode Osborne as a big favorite. Got finished. Got absolutely steamrolled by Ode Osborne. And then, in his last fight against Jesus Aguilar, just kind of got bullied, got dropped, got beat up by Jesus Aguilar. Didn't look the greatest. So for my final prediction, it's an easy one. Give me Alden Correa by decision. I think Correa will win pretty dominantly here, as Gruel just really isn't that good. I actually don't see him KOing Gruel, though, however, like he did against Alexandro Costa. As the KO against Costa was the result of a foot injury. And Gruel looked pretty durable in his last fight against Aguilar, so get me Alden Correa by decision. Next on the card, we got Ode Osborne versus Alibi Adirius. On the side of Ode Osborne, we have a bit of just a kill or be killed fighter. Dude's either gonna flatline KO you, he has some nasty power, has really good hand speed. Like he's actually really good on the feet. Dropped Steve Erceg twice in his last fight before getting dominated on the ground after. But Ode Osborne's main problem just is the defensive grappling, as he seems to get stuck there a lot. Then on the side of Alibi Adirius, we have a guy who coming into the UFC was this undefeated guy out of Kazakhstan, who was a pretty big favorite against Joseph Morales for the tough finale, but ended up, getting finished by Joseph Morales, which didn't look good at the time, but since then has aged pretty well, as Joseph Morales is a really solid submission artist. So for who I'm picking here, it's actually a really hard fight to pick, as Osborne's KO ability is tough, man. Like he'll slime you out and do it himself. And also, Adirius didn't show too much in his first fight, but you know what? I'm picking Alibi Adirius by decision. This is a very hard fight to pick, as Ode has a lot of power, but I think the deciding factor of this fight will be Adirius' wrestling, as I just see him ragdolling Osborne and getting a lot of control time, while also being pretty competitive on the feet, so I think Adirius will win a pretty dominant decision here. Next on the card, Chidi Bang Bang and Njokuani versus Carlos Leal. On the side of Chidi and Njokuani, we have a pretty nasty striker here, as the dude has nasty knees, he's a pure Muay Thai guy who just hits it incredibly hard. Since moving down to welterweight, he's 3-1, just lost to Jake Matthews in his last fight by submission. So he has Chidi, he has clear holes in his ground game, but his striking's pretty elite. Then on the side of Carlos Leal, we have a guy who's, questionable to say the least if he's on roids or not. But hey, you know, it looks really promising in his first two UFC fights against Rinat Fakhretdinov in his debut. Was beat the living dirt out of Rinat Fakhretdinov and somehow got robbed in that fight and then knocked out what's his name Alex Morono, the GOAT, and in his second fight in the UFC. But after those two fights, though, was a big favorite against Muslim Salikov. He went out there and just got colded. I'm not gonna lie. So for who I'm picking, give me Carlos Leal by round 1 TKO. I actually think this fight is close as Chitty is very high level on the feet, but at 37 years old, I just think the weight cut will catch up to him, and that Leal will just bomb him out cold with a big shot. As Chitty's been KO'd before at middleweight, and I think that his chin is suspect. And while Leal's chin could be a bit suspect after that Salikov fight, I think Muslim Salikov, whenever he fights out of the States, is like a mythical fighter. As you know, he's allowed to take roids there, I think. We'll get into that another day, but you know. So I think Leal will get this done by round 1 TKO. Next on the card, so I believe this is the open up the main card. We got Zachary Reese versus Michel Pereira. On the side of Zachary Reese, we have a kind of just a he's a guy at middleweight. He's just an unranked middleweight. Wins some, loses some. On a decent little win streak though. I believe he's beat what's his name, the egghead. Can't remember his name, and in his last fight beat Jackson McVeigh by submission. So Zachary's isn't bad though. Has KO power. Has has decent grappling. He showed in this last fight. Then Michel Pereira is just kind of at the start of his career he was like the most crazy, entertaining UFC fighter who was either gonna KO you in 2 minutes or gas out after that and lose. But he was always gonna put on an entertaining fight. As of late though, he's not even doing that anymore. As he's kind of washed. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, he's on 3-fight losing streak, lost to Fluffy, got absolutely dominated by Fluffy. One of the saddest performances I've ever seen in my life. I mean, then against Abus Magomedov, tried to be patient and still somehow gassed out. And then in his last fight against Kyle Dawkins just gets colded and looks like his chin is gone. So for my final prediction, man, this fight is like flipping a coin. As neither of these guys are very good to me, but I'm slightly going to lean Zachary Reese by round 3 TKO. I see Zachary Reese surviving the early storm against Michel Pereira and coming back and finishing him when he's gassed. This Pereira just hasn't looked the same since the Fluffy fight, man. I miss the old Michel Pereira who's on a 7-fight win streak just non-stop finishing people. Not the one now who sucks. Alright, next on the main card we got Jacoby Smith versus Josiah Harrell. On the side of Jacoby Smith, we have one of the more promising prospects at 170 at the moment, as he's a college wrestler who has pretty nice wrestling and also has KO power. As he's in his first two fights, he debuted against Preston Parsons, got a nasty KO, dropped him badly, finished him. And then in his last fight against Nico Price, was supposed to be an easy fight, but he looked kind of mid. As Jacoby Smith actually looked gassed and had to fight for a submission, which wasn't the best look, but we'll see if he's made any improvements here. Josiah Harrell, he's a guy making a debut off the couch, essentially 2 weeks notice. He was originally supposed to fight in the UFC, but because of a brain condition he had, he took 2 years off MMA, but now he's back and he's here to try to prove that he belongs in the UFC against Jacoby Smith. So for who I'm picking here, I'm gonna lean Jacoby Smith by round 1 TKO. I think this is definitely a tougher test for Jacoby Smith than anyone else he's fought. But with Harrell taking the short notice, I just see Jacoby Smith's athleticism being the difference here. And I see him taking Harrell down and finishing him with ground and pound. And Jacoby Smith has like that Armin Sarukian level of ground and pound. Like, the way he lands ground and pound is pretty nasty, I won't lie. So give me Jacoby Smith by round 1 TKO. Next on the card, we got Sergey Spivak, Tom Aspinall's favorite fighter, versus Ante Delija. On the side of Sergey Spivak, we got one of the fighters at heavyweight, okay? We have one of the fighters at heavyweight. I mean, he's a blob at heavyweight. Let's just be so for real. The guy's good. The guy's he's good at beating blobs because he has a good Greco-Roman wrestling, has really nice trips and stuff. But other than grappling, he's just completely nothing on the feet. As either he takes you down and subs you, or if you have any sort of skill and can stuff a takedown, you beat him, like Waldo Cortez Acosta, like Cyril Gane, Then on the side of Delija, we have a guy who was seen as pretty promising in the UFC after making his debut against Marcin Tybura, where he finished him in like a minute. He showed really fast hands, and then as a decent favorite against Waldo Cortez Acosta, ended up low-key getting mogged. Like, Like Ante Delija, the whole eye poke thing. Like he thought he had won the fight, but then Waldo comes back and knocks him out, which is pretty sick. Honestly, didn't age bad for him though. So for who I'm picking here, I'd say Ante Delija by round 1 TKO. Now, don't get me wrong, if Spivak gets this fight to the ground, then Delija could definitely be in trouble, but I just don't see it going there, as I think Delija's speed will be too much for him, and he will lay out Sergey Spivak. If Sergey Spivak literally got TKO'd by Jelton Almeida, who gets TKO'd by Jelton Almeida? The dude just wants to hug you, and you got TKO'd by him. Yeah, give me Delija by round 1 TKO. Let's move on. Next on the card, we got Dan Ige versus, the featured fight, yeah. Dan Ige versus Mokwazao Costa. On the side of Dan Ige, we have, just the classic gatekeeper at featherweight. Always fighting prospects. Sometimes he beats them, sometimes he doesn't. Essentially, if you beat Dan Ige, you decide if you're ranked or not. Dan Ige, he's a crafty veteran. Never been finished in like 30 pro MMA fights, has nasty KO power, but other than that, doesn't really have much. Then on the side of Melky Costa, we have a very dynamic striker who uses his range on a what's called a 4-fight win streak where he's just been steamrolling guys, winning by decision, like 2 wins by decision and then 2 by finish, 1 by sub, and then the nasty head kick KO against Morgan Chaye. Like Costa's looked really good as of late, so now he's getting his first ranked step up against Dan Ige. So for who I'm picking here, I'm gonna take Melky Costa by decision. Costa has really impressed me with the win streak he's been on. And I think his improvements in both his grappling and striking, I think he wins pretty easily here against the veteran Ige. As Ige's tough and he won't get finished, but he might win a round here, but I just think Costa overall won the fight and looked better than him. So give me Melky Costa by decision. I think it'll be pretty, side note, I think I'll be pretty excited to have him in the top 15, so hopefully he wins. For our co-main event, weird one here, we got Jeff Neal versus Uros Medic. On the side of Jeff Neal, we have kind of he's a gatekeeper at 170. I mean, he held his spot in the top 10 for a long time since when he beat Vicente Luque, but ever since then he's just been kind of whatever. Like, I mean, he has only been losing to the best though. Like Jeff Neal's a really talented boxer, amazing boxer. He just kind of struggles with other things. Like some of the guys, I mean, the Shavkat fight, I mean, yeah, he got finished by a standing guillotine choke, but he did drop Shavkat and actually hurt him pretty badly. And then Ian Gary fight, split decision, so not a bad loss honestly. And then this is his first really like bad loss against Carlos Prates, where he just got spitting up out cold. So I don't know. Jeff Neal now trying to make his comeback against an unranked guy in Uros Medic. On the side of Medic, we have he's pretty killer be killed. He doesn't have much of a chin, but as we saw in his last fight, or his second to last fight, as he got dropped by Rubino, but he has some pretty nasty KO power, and he's gonna slime you. Like he will slime you if you don't slime him first. So it's gonna be kind of the test of if Jeff Neal's really washed or not. So for who I'm picking, sorry, man, I have to lean Jeff Neal here. I have to lean Jeff Neal by round 1 TKO. I don't think Medic deserves this fight, to be honest. And it will show us. Medic literally got dropped by Gilbert Urbina, who's one of the worst fighters on the roster. And like 3 fights ago, got KO'd by Punahale Soriano. And Jeff Neal is way better than both those guys, bro. Like I think Jeff Neal will walk in here and show people why he still deserves to be ranked and will get a nasty finish over Uros Medic. So for our main event of the card, we got Sean Strickland versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. So watch my full fight breakdown on this if you want to know more about what I think. But on the side of Sean Strickland, we have one of the more defensively sound strikers in the division. Has a very high striking defense. He's a bit low output, throws a lot of jabs and teeps. Like we all know about Sean Strickland. We know how he fights, but he is very good though. He's a very high level striker. Only 2 losses at middleweight to Alex Pereira and DDP, and is very tough. Then Anthony Fluffy Hernandez is one of the biggest rising stars at middleweight at the moment. As he's on a 8-fight win streak, I believe, and has just been kind of dominating guys. The only really close fight he's had was with Brendan Allen, where he showed some holes in his game. Other than that, he's just been pure dominating guys. And now he's getting his first real step up against Sean Strickland to show if he really deserves to be in that upper echelon of middleweight or not. So for who I'm picking here, this is going to be controversial. I might get this pick wrong. No, I won't actually, but I'm taking Sean Strickland by decision. I just feel the level of competition will show here, as Fluffy's literally been beating Roman Dolidze. He's beat Roman Dolidze, Michel Pereira, and Roman Kopylov. Maybe the most fraudulent win streak I've ever seen. Strickland's beat multiple guys in the top 5, and I can just trust him to win this fight. I think we're going to see Fluffy have a very tough time taking Strickland down or landing on him, as in the DDP fight, the first one. DDP really couldn't control him at all. Strickland would just stand right back up every time he took him down. And I just see Strickland kind of putting a whooping on Fluffy and winning a pretty clear decision here. So give me Sean Strickland by decision. So anyways, y'all, that's the video for today. Hope y'all enjoyed it. I'll catch y'all tomorrow with my full card recap, and peace.